Well, the hush money case against former President Donald Trump goes to the jury today. Attorneys gave their closing arguments Tuesday inside a Manhattan courthouse after 5 weeks of testimony. Prosecutors argue Trump falsified business records to cover up an affair with adult film actress Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election. The defense attacked key witness Michael Cohen, who says Trump ordered him to pay Daniels $130,000 in exchange for her silence. Outside the courthouse, Trump blamed President Biden.
This is all about Biden. Can't campaign, so he's trying to injure his opponent. They're trying to hurt the opponent because they can't win it fair and square.
The judge gives instructions to the 5 women and 7 men of the jury this morning, and deliberations are expected to begin shortly thereafter. Trump is facing prison time if convicted. Well, this week, the Supreme Court could release an unprecedented decision regarding presidential immunity. Former President Trump argued that he shouldn't be held liable for actions taken while in office. As CBN's Gary Lane reports, the court's ruling could have a significant impact on the power of the presidency.
The nation stands at a crucial moment regarding presidential immunity, especially since this case involves former President Donald Trump, who claims he acted in his official duties as president on January 6th and is immune from prosecution.
Regardless of what the court does here, the decision that they hand down is going to have a significant effect on executive power moving forward.
That's because of the possible impact on past presidents. For example, a ruling that presidents do not have unlimited immunity could mean the potential for former President Barack Obama to be held liable for ordering the assassination of Osama bin Laden. The same could go for George W. Bush for his role in the Iraq War and execution of Saddam Hussein, and Bill Clinton for the bombing of a Sudanese pharmaceutical plant. Recently, I spoke with Cedarville University political scientist Dr. Caleb Smith about the case.
It may come down then to official acts as president and unofficial acts as a private citizen or presidential candidate. So how do we decide? Who decides what is official and what isn't?
So the clearest place to go to decide what's an official act and what's not would be the Constitution itself. Now, it's not going to be an exhaustive list, but when we're seeing the president execute powers that are listed there in Article 2, so for example, something like the commander-in-chief power or the power of appointment, those are presidential powers that are recognized and that are authorized by the Constitution, and it's difficult for me to imagine that the president can be criminally charged simply for exercising those kinds of powers.
Bradley Jacob, Associate Dean at Regent University Law School, says courts have already established a legal precedent on civil immunity for presidents.
You can't get damages from a president because of his decisions. And I'm not sure that any of those other issues violated the criminal law, because if you're in a military situation, the president has quite a bit of flexibility as commander-in-chief. And throughout the whole history of the world, presidents, kings, executive leaders have ordered military actions that have caused their own people to die.
Smith argues that the U.S. Supreme Court is likely to rule that presidents are subject to the same criminal standards as military officers.
You have certain proper functions. You have the rules that are in place under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Once you step outside of those, well, then you can be held responsible. I think the president's going to end up in a similar place.
Most constitutional law scholars agree the court is likely to rule that presidents have immunity from prosecution only for their official acts as president. So does that mean Donald Trump's criminal trials could be dismissed?
I don't know that any of them will go away. Maybe a few of the allegations, a few of the indictments will be thrown out, but by and large, I think you're going to see continued movement towards the trials of President Trump, but probably not fast enough to reach any conclusions before the election.
Regardless, this historic and unprecedented Supreme Court decision is expected to result in constitutional consequences, not only for Donald Trump, but for the future of the American presidency. Gary Lane, CBN News.
The case expected to be consequential.